Welcome back to another installment of Iron Debate, the show where we settle the score and we talk about the most controversial topics in all of bodybuilding. I'm joined today by King Kamali and Jose Raymond. Guys, welcome to the show.
What's up?
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? Now, there's been a lot of analysis. You know, a lot of people trying to break down the Olympia. We've broken it down before. King and I did post-game shows. We've talked about it. There's other shows out there. Dennis James had a show on with George Farah and Milo Sarshev and Chris Cormier. They broke the show down. I want to break down the breakdowns now because we're hearing a lot of excuses now. We're hearing a lot of reasons why certain guys didn't look good. And I want to get you guys' opinion straight from the hip because I know you guys are going to tell the truth about what you think. You know, right off the bat, I'm hearing from Dennis James and from a bunch of people, they think that Ramy was flat. That term flat. First of all, King, tell me what the word flat means in bodybuilding terms for the people who might not know. And then tell me if you agree with that statement.
Okay, in layman's terms, means he took too many diuretics. That's what it breaks down to. Simple, easy peasy, Japanesey. That's it. He took too many diuretics and he could not catch up with it. Now, for those people who don't understand, can't catch up with it, let me explain to you from a personal experience. It doesn't matter if you sit down and eat 16 pizzas and 15 cakes back to back. When you're flattening out from diuretics, you're going to be flat for at least 48 hours. That's it. There's no coming back from it. You can't catch up with it. So whatever he did those last 3 days, he could not keep up with it. And then we can add in the cortisol and the stress and all that stuff.
Now, Dennis James said that when he looked at him that morning, I guess once Ramy got to Vegas, I guess he was in the same hotel as Chad, and Dennis was in another hotel. But Dennis went to see him that morning, and he said he looked flat to him that morning, and he told Chad, and Chad didn't necessarily agree with him. We don't know what they did. I did hear a rumor, though, and I don't know if you guys heard this, that Ramy was seen and Bonac seen drinking some kind of red liquid backstage. I don't know if that was a Chad Nichols special or what, but have any of you guys heard that or anything?
No.
Like that? No. What do you think happened, Jose?
Well, first off, I want to start by saying I love Dennis, and I have the utmost respect for him.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He's smart, but I think he got bamboozled by seeing only Ramy every day for so long. And I bet he was in shape. I bet he was lean. His glutes were crazy. He's huge in person.
Yeah.
So to tell me that he looked like the Olympia champ the day before or the days leading up to it is misleading because maybe how did Dennis, who's very smart, not see the missing lats? How did he not see the 18-inch left tricep and 23-inch right arm, How do you not see that? And I'm not being an ass. I'm just wondering.
Dennis says that he had those last year, too, and he won the Olympia last year.
No, he didn't. It was worse. It's worse this year. There was absolutely no lower lats. He was also not opening his rear double. He was pinching his shoulder blades together.
And why do you think that was?
I don't know. Maybe to show more detail in the middle of his back, but it just made things look worse because he wasn't as wide as normal, and then having wider hips, it fell apart. And even from the front, look how much smaller that left arm is.
Yeah, and these are pictures from a week out, which Dennis knows. He does look like he's in shape here.
Stop right there. If you're talking, he's in shape, but he's not Ramy that we are used, like the Ramy from the New York Pro. He's not that Ramy. It's obvious.
Do you think this is good enough to win? I think it's good enough to win. Back doesn't look bad there. I mean, he has high lats, but it's not terrible.
Back doesn't look bad there because he's not standing next to Lunsford and he's not standing next to Hottie. That's why. Remember, Dave, don't forget, I'm 8-time Mr. Olympia in my kitchen. Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody could beat me in my kitchen. Not even Ronnie of 2003. So standing by yourself is one thing, but again, that's not the Ramy that, all he had to do. This is how we were all assessing it. Just come back better than you did last year, and you're going to be fine. That's how I was looking at it. As long as he's better than last year, they're going to give him the nod Doesn't matter because Hottie's too small. Derek is too fresh. Andrew's, he's missing something. He'll be fine. He just wasn't. And when he stepped on stage, Jose was there. I wasn't. I was watching with you, but I'm sure Jose will attest to this. He instantly started to go watery, softer, and so because his confidence was gone.
Yeah. I probably had the best seats in the building. I was literally 2 seats behind the judges table, dead center. And the way they're set up, you're eye level with them. So I had incredible seats. And one after the other, after everyone came on, you were like, wow, everyone seems to be off. And then I was sitting with Fuad, and when Derek came out, we were freaking out. We were like, holy shit, he can win. And then Hottie, same thing. And then when Ramy first walked out, they opened the door for him. You were like, there's a big man. He looked great just standing there. But each pose he did, it got worse and worse and worse. And my eye was just like, that doesn't look as impressive to me as 2 or 3 of the guys I've already seen. And then sure enough, when they compared them, my brain was right.
If Ramy was too flat, okay, the question is, why was he too flat? And King, you made a very good. I believe what you said. He took too many diuretics. But why would Chad, who's done this a million times, give him too many diuretics? Did they carb him up too much, you think, and then panicked? No pun intended, guys. I'm not trying to pull the panic. But essentially, you know what happens? You give too many carbs, you're like, uh-oh, the guy's spilling over a little bit. Let me hit him with some diuretics. You think that's what happened, or did he just get too many diuretics to begin with?
Okay, so I've worked with Chad.
Yeah.
Okay, I was there, when he was working with the top 5 guys in the world, he let me come into the whole family and all that stuff. So I know how he works. First, let's get first thing out of the way. So these knucklehead troll dickheads on the internet, so they can stop talking their shit, all right? Why wouldn't Chad want him to look great? Obviously, he's going to do everything in his power to get his athlete to look the best that he can. Okay, we all can agree on this. So he must have seen something. Now, on top of that, one thing that Chad does like to do, okay, is he likes to push it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
He likes to push it. So if you're teeter-tottering, if you're like right there and there could be a window of this much of being just that much better, he'll push it. When a lot of people will be like, no, we're good. See, I personally don't take that. I say, okay, we're at this point right here. We're going to keep it right here. So instead of taking more diuretics, let's do some water restriction, elevate your feet, and sleep. Because I'm a firm believer in sleep. When you sleep, you wake up so much better and you piss like a camel.
Well, it lowers your cortisol levels, which is definitely can cause fluid retention. But let me ask you this. Chad was pretty preoccupied with that whole 300 number. I really feel like they really, it happened with Ronnie, and he brought Ronnie in, 292 or something like that to the 03 Olympia, and he looked phenomenal. Chad really wanted to bring Ramy, and I think what happened, and I could be wrong, I'm just speculating. I've said this before, that I think that at a week out, we saw those pictures, he looked really good. And Chad probably figured we got him in shape. It's the best shape Ramy's ever been in. Let's feed him now. Let's fill him up. Let's bring him in at 300, big, round, and hard. And I just think Ramy's physique didn't want to cooperate with that, and it started spilling over. And that's when I think that's why the diuretics came in, because I don't think Chad would just push diuretics for no reason, especially with a guy the size of Ramy.
Depending on which type of diuretics too. Let's put that into the equation. Yeah. That's a very, very important factor when it comes to this. What kind of diuretics are we talking about?
Right. Yeah, we don't know that. Probably Demodex.
Right.
Jose, do you think Ramy can come back and regain his title, or are his deficits that we've seen for the past year or so, the lats, the divots in the quad, are those just going to be like deal breakers, kind of like the way Phil's waist was when he tried to make the comeback?
Well, first I want to address the diuretic thing.
Okay.
We don't know that that's the issue. It could be, absolutely could be. But King made a very good point in, being this close and then going over the top. And when I work with Chris always used to say to me, "Listen, we're not shooting for a home run. Let's hit some base hits and see what happens." He's like, you're fine where you're at. We don't have to do anything crazy. And that was the best way to go at it. And they may have tried to do something to like blow him out of the water. They were making these predictions like he was going to be a 2003 Ronnie Coleman.
That's right.
And I think putting that much pressure on Ramy and Chad on himself to live up to that, maybe they did do something. I don't know. But to answer your question is, can he come back? He's still the biggest guy on stage. I don't know. It does appear to be a nerve issue. His arm is significantly smaller, and his lats are definitely gone, like the lower lats. There was a good comparison on Instagram. Someone posted of a rear double from, 2015 to now. Yeah. And his lats used to come all the way down. So, but no, I don't think those issues can be fixed. It happened to a lot of people. Jay, it happened to. The lower lats disappeared at the end of his career. That still looks great to me. But
yeah, me too.
When he stands next to guys that are so complete, like Derek and Hardy, that's going to be very difficult to come back from. I really don't see it.
Let me throw a theory out there. Who seems to have the worst case of the lat retraction and the loss of legs? It seems like the big guys. Ramy, Ronnie had the lat issue. Jay, you mentioned. These are big guys. And I think that is it possible that the amount of weight that these guys walk around at for such a long time compresses that spine, which we know it does, and then maybe starts pinching off those spaces where the nerves come out of, the spinal nerves, and that could maybe lead to the atrophy? Maybe, in other words, it's maybe not even an injury. It might just be over time, as you get older, we shrink. I mean, I know I'm an inch shorter than I was when I was 18. Just happens. Your spine compresses a little bit and the spaces decrease. Maybe these nerves are not firing the way they need to be. And he is the biggest of big. I mean, we've never seen a guy that size. He's bigger than Ronnie was in the offseason. So think about walking around at 340 pounds in the offseason, how much compression on his spine there is. He's 38 years old now. Could be just catching up with him, Is it possible? You never saw that with Dexter or any of these other guys that are on the smaller, lighter side.
Certainly. It certainly didn't help.
No.
Yeah, I think there's a different theory in this too. There's another thing that you can add to this, Dave. I think that the older you get, okay, and I don't know if Jose is going to agree with me on this or not, but to maintain that freaky, dense, round, full look, you have to continue to train heavy. And that heavy training eventually catches up to you. All right. Yeah. Right now, I remember, believe me, I would have loved to do legs with Jose back in the day. That would have been great because I'm known for my stupid leg days of, vomiting for an hour and crawling out of the gym. It would have been fun. But I could do it now, but that would be just stupidity on top of stupidity. And right. I feel myself, I pulling down the weight and going heavy. It takes its toll. And I think especially in the case of Jay, because I remember Jay, after one of the Olympias, after the Arnold Classic or something, he came to me. We were at the Muscle Tech after party, and he said, "King, was my back downsized? Was I downsized?" And I'm like, "A little bit." He goes, "Yeah, I got to go back to heavy training." So he knew that is the key. That's what's going to keep him there. But it's a give and take. That heavy ass training is going to keep that fullness there, but you're going to pay the price for it.
Yeah,
I do agree with you. Absolutely, and I experienced it at the end of my career. I was 43 on stage when I finally called an end, and I couldn't train the way I used to. I couldn't, my hips were gone, my shoulders were gone. Right. There's no way I could do the things that I used to, and my physique showed it. I was lucky, got a gift to get a 5th place in my last Olympia, and because I was in condition, but condition looks even different when the muscle's not bursting through the skin anymore.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know how old Ramy is. What's he, 38, 39?
Yeah, going to be 38, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not that old, but he's been so big for so long.
The heavier you are, the more it impacts, I think, your physique. I really believe that.
Absolutely. You know, Ramy was able to do it later because he didn't get really big until later. You know, he was natural his first few years or whatever. You know, he went from 230 to 290 over the course of, 7 years or something.
Right.
And another thing, Dave, you got to add this in for the kids so they start to realize the reality. That deep tissue massage and all that only helps about that much. It really doesn't have that much. I mean, people seem to think because, Jay got deep tissue massage and that's what we want. No, just not that big because he was eating 800 times a day and training and taking gear. That's what Jay, that's put on the side. Not the deep tissue. So it's not like, because I've seen all those videos this past week, I went and I checked out all the, because he was posting videos of him. Ramy was getting the deep tissue massage. He was getting the chiropractic adjustments. He was doing the cryotherapy. He's doing all that. Didn't help. Did he win the Olympia? No, he slipped to 5th place. Okay. So it's definitely something that happened. Now, I want to add one more thing in there. I know I'm going all over the place. Okay. I called Dennis the next morning. Okay, and I had a 30-minute conversation. I actually woke him up.
And I thought you only called me. Now I really feel it.
I had to. I called Dennis up. I woke him up, I think, because he was all groggy. I said, Dennis, what? Explain to me, please, between me and you, between King and Dennis, what happened? And here's I'll rip Dennis apart in a second, but I got to give him something here. Okay, I'm going to give him this. Sure. He genuinely was in disbelief. Like you could tell, I can tell. I have this intuitive thing when I talk to people, when I hear bullshit or not. He wasn't. He was like, he really thought Ramy is going to look the best he ever has and going in there, putting aside the lats, the lower back and the tricep and stuff. He thought that there was there. And then he said, King, I swear to you on my life. And, he was going on and swearing. I don't know what happened the last 3 days. That's not me. It's out of my hands. Well, that's what he told me.
I don't know why everyone's calling Dennis and asking Dennis what happened, because Dennis doesn't do his diet. Chad does. So I don't know why Dennis is taking the brunt of anything. Dennis was basically just a good friend and training partner to Ramy.
Because he was living with him, because they were training
he wasn't
together.
Doing his diet.
And Jose said something good too. I mean, they're seeing him every day. That's why the kids, but you can't listen to the trolls. Put the trolls aside. Okay, who cares about them? I'm talking about just us as his peers, as IFBB pros, and as geniuses like you, Dave. What happened? We're curious too. I want to know what happened. I've worked with Chad. I've listened to Dennis. I know Chad likes to push it at the end. That is my theory.
You know what? When you push Ronnie Coleman, he gets better. When you push, Nasser somebody, he gets better. You push Ramy, it seems like too much. You're stressing his body out too much, and he falls apart. They would have been better off doing nothing different. Those pictures that I put up on this screen, I mean, that's enough to win the Olympia. He doesn't even need any more carbs. He could have just showed up like this. He would have won the Olympia. There's no doubt in my mind that.
What did I tell you the next day? What did I tell you the next day? If he would have just woke up that morning, pretend like it's another just a Friday morning, hang out, go eat breakfast, do a little bit of cardio, slap on some paint, and get on stage, he would have looked phenomenal.
He would have won. He would have won. It's the whole process. They did too many things to him. And I think it stressed his body out and he couldn't handle it. You know who was like that? And he didn't have a physique like Ramy. Greg Kovacs, okay, was an enormous human being. Granted, he didn't have the structure of Ramy, but I've seen his body. His body would fall apart when he would get to a show. He'd be so nervous. He'd be taking 14 different things. And Chad used to do his diet too. And his body would I said, you know what, Greg? You'd be better off, I told him this, doing absolutely nothing different than you do every single day when you go to the gym. You're still not going to win the show because you don't have the structure of these guys, but you would at least look shredded on stage and you'd have a great looking physique and people would say, holy shit, look how big Greg is. I think the big physiques can't take when you do too many different, stressful things to them. And plus the personality too. Some people don't let anything bother them. Ramy internalizes everything. I know Kovacs was the same way. Very, very, insecure about how he looked. So who knows? Let's go on to another topic. All right. Let's talk about Derek Lunsford, who was probably the surprise of the show. for a lot of people. I mean, this guy could have easily have won. He only lost prejudging by 1 point, and I think he lost in the overall, when both days combined by 4 points. Realistically, he could have won the Olympia. No one would have complained. All right. So having said that, Jose, what does Derek need to do next year to come back and win the title? And can he beat Hadi?
Well, he just needs time. That's all. He needs time. He's gotten better every year. He doesn't have the maturity that Hadi has. And Hadi's got to be close to 10 years older than him. So that's all he needs is time. Look what he did in 1 year.
Yeah.
He's going to be a threat next year right away. No question. He just needs that maturity through the chest, shoulders, arms. From behind, I think it's very close. He's as hard as can be from behind, and he has everything, the width. I think he's wider than Hadi. He can bring up his legs, just maturity everywhere. He will win the Olympia someday, no question.
King, you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with everything he just said. Shoulders, chest, from the front. From the stomach up from the front, he needs to get that sharpness that he has in the back, and he needs to get his arms bigger. He needs to get his arms just a little bit bigger and more quad sweep. I mean, these are just semantics, but yes, definitely the surprise of the show. And he's going to be giving a lot of guys a lot of problems if they don't come in shape.
Can he do it in 1 year? That's the question. Because muscle maturity you can't buy at the store. We know that. It's gotten through hard work and time. Is Hadi have too much to beat him, quality-wise? He only lost by 1 point prejudging. I have to imagine that Hadi's not getting much bigger at his age at this point. If he can maintain what he has and bring that same look, that's a great package for him. Derek, if he puts on 8 pounds, does that too much for Hadi? Does that overwhelm him?
It depends on what it looks like. So when Hadi came out in prejudging, he definitely wasn't his trademark sharp as usual, but he was considerably bigger, and that played a role in it. And when Derek came out, he just was so mind-boggling that it was right away going to be those two. And then as it went on, Hadi got a little tighter, and Derek kind of stayed the same. If anything, he may have faded a little bit. And then Hadi came back better, tighter at the finals, and that's what sealed it. But if Hadi is as sharp as he's been in the past, it's going to take a few years for Derek to catch up to that. He can get better in 1 year, but he can't, equal Hadi's density in 1 year.
Let me throw a theory out there at you. Is it possible? Because when it's like essentially tied, which is what it was. That means half the judges thought one guy, half the judges thought the other guy. There was one judge that basically made the decision on this show. So it was that close. When you get something that close, do you say to yourself, maybe the judges didn't give it to Derek because they know that if he, first of all, Hadi's been there 3 times in third place, right? He was 2 times, whatever it was. Knocking on that door. He was kind of next in line. It was his time. If we give it to Derek, maybe Derek won't ever make the improvements he needs to be the Mr. Olympia that we want him to be. But if we put him second, we saw it when Levrone was second his first time around. Flex Wheeler was second his first time around. Dorian Yates was second his first time around. It kind of makes them go back to the drawing board and work that much harder because they want to win the title. Do you think that that's almost like the judge's way of saying, hey, we want you in that number 1 spot, but we're not going to give it to you yet. You're going to have to work for this one.
It sounds nice, Dave, but it's not that deep. He was the second best bodybuilder on stage, and that's where he ended up.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That deep at all. They weren't considering it. If they considered it, then they had every right in the world to give it to Derek. They would have just said, he's a better representation. He speaks English. He's a beautiful white American,
Well, why did half the judges think him and half the judges think the other guy?
Just what I said. When he came out, he had the most wow factor of anyone. He was so mind-boggling that you were like, this guy's going to win. Until you broke it down. Quarter turns, side shots. Hadi had things that he didn't. The ab and thigh, the most muscular. it just those two shots really are what did it.
Yeah.
The most muscular, where he had splinters everywhere, and the midsection is just so detailed, where Derek didn't have those two things, and it really showed in the ab and thigh and most muscular. And that's when I bet every judge said, all right, you just made up my mind for me.
Well, every judge didn't, because only half of them did, but more than half picked Hadi, obviously. All right, let's talk about probably the person I think who shocked us all. I'd have to call him the dark horse of the show, and that's Samson Dauda. On Dennis's podcast, they were asking Milos about Samson, because Milos obviously works with him, and he did a great job, put a ton of muscle on Samson, and Chris Cormier had said to Milos, Milos, don't push the envelope with this guy. He just needs refinement at this point. Implying that he should lay off the insulin, essentially, because he doesn't want to blow out Samson's waist. And Milos disagreed and said, no, Samson's tall. He needs a lot more muscle on his back, and he needs to be thicker. I want to get your guys' opinion on what is Milos taking the right approach, try to put a lot more mass on him, or should they go for the Chris Cormier approach of just refining what's there and assume that they maybe only need a couple pounds more muscle?
He should continue to do what he did this past year without putting it. I mean, if you're going to put insulin first and all that stuff, then you're doing completely wrong. That's not going to work, because as we all know, that works only but that only works for 2 years. Okay, a la Dennis Wolf. Okay, you look phenomenal for a couple of years. The insulin will do everything. Then it just starts to go the opposite direction. So I don't think so. I think he should continue to train heavy. Because I saw his videos. He trains balls to the wall. His life, he's got the blinders on. He's got to continue to go forward. I called Milos before the show, and this is a week before the show, and I sent him text messages, and I kept saying the same thing. I kept saying, Milos, bring him in dry. For the love of God, he doesn't need to be full. Stop thinking full. Bring him in dry and crispy, and he'll be right in there. I mean, he looks fantastic. That's the plan. That's the response that I got. That's the plan. I said, okay, do that, man.
Jose?
I think he needs to do both. He needs to still put on some muscle. His frame is so gigantic. He can still hold more muscle. But
how much more?
Olympia, he needs to be dry and tight, which, he wasn't super dry. He could have been drier. But, had he tried to bring him in too dry, he might have looked lanky and flat, and that look is what he had last year. Yeah. And I mean, he must have put on 25 pounds in a year. Yeah. He said he was 294 on stage.
How much more do you think he needs to gain?
Well, he could stay at 294 as long as he's harder.
Right.
He'll look a lot bigger. I don't think
he probably needs another 15 pounds of muscle. That's what I think. I think Milos and Cormier, they should meet in the middle somewhere. I think he definitely needs more muscle. Maybe not as much as Milos in his mind thinks he needs, but he definitely needs more muscle to fill that back out and then to dial it in, because you're right, Jose. If he comes in too hard now, he looks lanky on stage, I think. You're right.
Jose, since you had the best seat in the house and me and Dave were watching it on a computer screen, okay? All right. Yeah. Samson, and I know you're honest. You're one of the guys that's going to tell it like it is. When he walked out, does he have the Olympia potential? Does he?
Yes.
Okay. That's the first question. Second question.
To win the Olympia.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So second question is, when he hits his front double bicep, is it my eyes or it's just something missing from the front? And when he hits his back double bicep, there's something. Is it his lats and back? Is that what needs to catch up?
That's exactly what it is. He's got great arms, great pecs, great midsection, unbelievable legs, unbelievable shoulders. It's the lats are really high. And on a tall guy with a long torso, high lats, that doesn't look that bad. It's from behind that it's really bad. Not really bad, but it's more detectable, that he needs more lat width, more lat beef in general to, balance that out. That's the only thing missing in my eyes. His physique is flawless, but that rear double is what hurts him.
His front shots are very, very powerful, I think.
Yeah, look at his legs. They're twice the size of that guy.
Yeah, and whatchamacallit, Hunter is not a small guy, man.
No.
No. But he's so tall too. That's another thing, you know.
He's imposing. Samson is definitely imposing. But that was the only question that I had, because I don't want to go by computer screens. And if you were there, you can see it. I trust Jose's eyes. It just looked like to me when he came up in the front double, it just looked like it just wasn't there. Like Andrew Jack, when he comes up, you're like, yeah, it's there. You know, you look at it, you're like, it's there. He just needs to do a little bit more of this, and that. With Samson, it was just that, like you said, the back, the lats. Maybe he should follow the Dorian Yates protocol. Reverse pull over. Pull over till he can't pull over no more. Reverse grip pull downs, reverse grip rows. Lots. That's what I would do. Underhand, reverse grip, everything.
Yeah.
You should go train with Dorian. He lives out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dorian, give him a call.
Or give Dorian a call.
Give Dorian a call. Exactly.
Yeah. I think that would be probably a good thing. He probably would respond well to basically low volume heavy weights, because he'll grow like a weed. This guy, I guarantee, if Dorian pushed him in the gym.
No doubt.
Anyway, I want to bring up another guy. You mentioned Andrew Jack. You know, you saw that podcast with Dennis James and George Farah King. And since I will not even attempt to outdo your George Farah impression, you'll have to do that for us, because I fall very, very low on the George Farah scale compared to you. What George said that Andrew, he made 14 excuses for him. He said he had asthma, then he said he had bronchitis, then he said he had personal What did he say? Do the George impression. Right.
Okay, let me preface this by saying I do this because I love George. Okay,
yeah,
and
we like to break his balls. But
I like to break his balls and stuff. But for if George is watching, and I know he's going to watch this, George, you can't say you're not responsible, my friend. You can't. Okay, this falls on your shoulders, bro. Yeah, so turn around. You should have came out, and I'm talking to George right now. George, you see me, but I'm talking to you right now. You should have came out and said, it's my fault. I should have done this. We should have done this a little bit different, blah, 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 blah. Andrew Jack at the you can't come and say, he's got the bronchitis. He's a genetic freak. I don't know what was wrong with him, but you can't do that, man. You got to come out and say, because we're not blind and we're not deaf. We saw Andrew at the press conference where he said he's going to kick everybody's ass.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
He said, I'm gonna show you guys this. You guys shut the hell up. Ian, you're nothing. You be quiet. And he walked out there and he was dwarfing everybody with his shoulder width and his size. Yeah. Even Bob turned around and said, holy shit, okay. Right. So all of that being said, being considered, this falls on George's shoulders. You can't say bronchitis. Listen, we don't know, but no, you can't say that. We were all expecting him to be at his best, and he was not. That's the bottom line. That's a fact. Stop with the bronchitis. Stop with the family problems. Stop with this. You're the guru, and the guru knows everything, okay? That's the way it's got to be.
You know what the strange thing, King, about this whole thing is that Andrew has had every show he's done. There's been an excuse, right? Why he wasn't at he's only been at 80% at every show, and the guy is still fucking that great.
He's phenomenal.
He's unbelievable. This guy. I just think he needs a little bit more time to build some more muscle. But
yeah,
I think George was afraid to bring him down too low to get him in shape, because I think he would have thought maybe he looked a little stringy, and that's what they should have said. Look, he's not. He just wasn't. We need another year. That's all. He's going to be a guy who's going to be a top 6 Olympian. No doubt in my mind.
Bodybuilding is not just a meathead sport. It's also chess. Yeah. So when you've seen Ramy's pictures at 290 pounds and round, it's going to mess with you. So the coaches out there are going to sit there and say, okay, all right, we got to bring you in full. You can't stand up. Right. Yeah, it's a chess game too. But we were all of us expecting Andrew to be finally at 100%, which he was not. He's still phenomenal. And how many times before the Olympia, me and you, Dave, personally talk, and we did it on your show, that I say, watch out for this guy. Watch out for Andrew Jack. He's going to shock a lot of people, unfortunately. But now we have Jose. He's sitting right here in front of us, and he's going to give us the truth. What do you think about Andrew when you saw him?
I think he's incredible. He's my favorite physique on stage.
Thank you.
To me, the most capable of that wild. If he were younger, You know, I think he's in.
How old is he?
I think he's 38 up in there.
Oh, he is already? Wow. So he got
Yeah.
a really late start.
I don't quote me, but I think he's older. But that said, his physique is the best on stage. Like, it's beautiful, beautiful. And he has huge quads, tiny waist, very wide lats. He's not missing anything. You know, you could say his arms could be bigger just because they're 6 feet long. But he's got everything.
747.
Right. His front lat spread blew everyone away. Everyone. It wasn't close. But, you know, the hams and glutes, that's the only thing. Hams and glutes. If those are tighter, you know, he's got plenty on him everywhere else. He's just unreal. I really do think he could win in the next year or two. And he is older, so I do think it's a condition thing. I don't think that he would be so stringy that if they got him in shape, because that's not water, that's body fat.
Right.
You know,
you're right.
If they killed him with diuretics, then yeah, he'd be flat. But get him in shape. How's that? Get those.
Jose, for the love of God, repeat that one more time, please, for the fans. Please repeat what you just said. It's everything you just said about body fat. Please just repeat that, please.
Yeah, no, there's still body fat on him, and he's not going to lose muscle by losing body fat. He could have brought him in tighter. I personally believe he can be tighter without being flat.
Let me ask you this question. Is the problem that he's being fed too much food by George, or is he maybe cheating on his diet, and that's why they're having trouble peaking him? What?
No, you know, I worked with George for a short period of time, and he was always giving me that 20 minutes cardio, 200-gram carb. And I'm like, dude, I don't respond from 20 minutes of cardio.
That's like Jose's warm-up before he goes into the gym for 20 minutes.
Right.
Oh,
so I know that he doesn't like to push the envelope with cardio, and I'm a firm believer in cardio. I think he probably ate perfect amount. He just wasn't as active. You know, I'd had him doing cardio twice a day.
Yeah.
8 weeks out, and then maybe taper off once he's in shape.
Ronnie Coleman did 2.5 hours of cardio a day. I mean, come on. I mean, look, right?
Right.
Who told me the story? Did you tell me, King, the story about when Ronnie was backstage at some show doing an hour of cardio?
I went to the Miss Olympia when it was in New Jersey.
Yeah, you told me the story. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was 2 weeks out from the Nationals, and I was dying. And Chad said, "Okay, you want inspiration? Come and I'll show you something." I went to the hotel, and there he was, Ronnie, 1 o'clock in the morning, and the whole freaking gym is shaking, and he's walking, and he's got his headband on, he's frothing with sweat, and I'm like, "Oh my, what the hell am I complaining about, man?" I turned around, got my car, and went right back home and went to the 24-hour gym.
Someone else told me another story that he was back. I think it might have been Valentino. He was backstage at the Women's Extravaganza or something like that. One of those shows, the Miss Olympia, and they had a treadmill back there, and he had the thing so steep, the treadmill, that it looked like he was walking up like Pikes Peak, and he walked for an hour like that, long strides. The sweat was dripping off of him. They said he did an hour like that. I mean. But they said no one could have ever done that in their Olympia prep.
If Andrew Jack is listening to this, I hope he is. Go and find the video of Ronnie Coleman 2001 Arnold Classic when he hits his back shot at prejudging. Look at the detail on the hams and glutes. His hamstrings are cross-striated going up, and then it's a glute start to cross-striate. It's hamstring cross-striation, glute. You can't get that, as Jose just said, from 20 minutes of cardio. It doesn't work like that. No. You got to grind it out and squeeze until you hear popping back there. That's how I used to know when I'm doing it right. When I started to hear and feel little pops back there, like, all right, I'm squeezing hard enough. You don't do that.
Yeah, everyone's physique is different, but there are people that need a lot of cardio, and there are people who don't need a lot of cardio, and you can't give the same formula to everyone. Obviously,
there's only one Dexter. Dexter Jackson is 1 in a billion. That's it.
Exactly.
God who does fucking 10 minutes of cardio and goes, "Oh, that dog, I'm tired, dog. I don't need to do no dog." And that's Dexter. Okay, Dexter's a freak of nature.
All right, I want to move on to another person. blessing Awodibu, the most outspoken person at the press conference. I mean, the guy is pure entertainment. I love watching him in action. I think
I like him too.
What the hell happened to him? He looked really good when he won those 2 pro shows earlier in the year. And they asked George, and George, once again, is with the cortisol is the number 1 cause of obesity. And he had 40,000 excuses for
bodybuilding is like the stock market. It changes out by hour to hour. Okay. So you cannot. I can't. I'm sorry, George. I love you, man. I love you, Jose. I'm sorry, Jose. You becoming my eyes and ears right now. You were sitting there, okay? Was it me? Hold on. Was it me, or was his left leg severely atrophied? I mean, I couldn't tell from the freaking whatchamacallit from the video. You got to tell me.
100%, and he knows it too, because every shot he hit was with his right leg forward. He hit a side tricep with his. He was hiding it. Kept hiding his left leg in every shot.
Right.
There's something off with it. I think that's been there for a while, but when he's in shape, it's not as evident because he's sharp and he does have a crazy upper body.
You can see it in this picture, pretty,
yeah,
evidently.
That's not even straight on.
He must have a knee problem or some kind of problem with that leg, And it's really that's not really George's fault. So I don't know why George tried to defend himself. George said he was eating 3 cups of rice with every meal to carb him up. That's a lot of fucking rice. I got news. I don't think anyone could eat 3 cups of rice with every meal, but who knows?
No. I can't. He just wasn't in shape.
What he eventually came out and said is that he can't train heavy because he's got an injury there. So Milos
here's something. He's a little bit of fact because I want to hear what Jose has to say. But I know for a fact because one of my closest friends trains in the same gym he does. He trains with Kai, and Kai has 3-hour workouts.
Oh,
like
I know.
You know how Kai trains, right?
Yeah.
So he trains with Kai with the. Kai. I don't even need to explain how Kai is.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe he should start to think of a different way of training. Maybe he needs
Right.
more Jose Raymond, King Kamali. Let's get down to the ground with 600 pounds and back up type training.
When you have an injury or you have an area that's gets sore, you don't want to do 1,000,000 sets for it because it's like a doctor gave me a good analogy. If you have a bad joint or something like that, if you have a rusty door hinge. You don't want to open the door 600 times a day because the hinge is going to break. The rust is going to give out. But if you only open it a couple times a day, the rust might hold up. So it's like when I started having shoulder issues later in my career, I just did less sets, more intensity on those sets so that I didn't have to overwork the joint. And, that worked for me. Now, I don't know. Milos' solution was, and he actually said this. He said, I would give him a ton of insulin and just have him do a lot of squeezing, 1,000,000 squeezing reps, I don't think that's going to fix the problem, to be honest with you.
No, it's not going to fix the problem. No, it's not.
If he was in shape, he might have placed a few spots higher. But was
he not in shape or was he overcarbed? That's what I wanted to know.
He wasn't in shape. He wasn't. It was maybe both. He wasn't lean enough. He still needs to be leaner. If he was in the condition he was in New York, he would have placed a little better.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Maybe his body was tired. I mean, sometimes guys can't peak twice in a year. I mean,
or Dave, and this is another thing that I know from personal experience. You can't do the same shit you did the show before. Life changes. Things come up. Girlfriends start to get on your nerves. This happens. Somebody dies in your family. You can't. Cutler is the first person to say this too. Everybody's like, hey, why don't you just come back like what you did in 2001? He goes, that's not how it works. You got to do a change. You got to go adapt. Maybe he needs to adapt a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know what George did again, but a lot of shit's hard. Listen, I give George a hard time, but it's falling on his shoulders. But I wouldn't blame on George.
I wouldn't blame on him either. No, he shouldn't even have tried to take the blame for this one. It wasn't his fault. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think George had anything to do with this one. Now, Andrew, that's something else, but not this.
Dave, I don't blame any coach for anything. I mean, you're the bodybuilder. You're the one to do it. The coach is just here to recommend things and be a second set of eyes.
You got to listen, Jose. Come on, you can't make your own calls on when you're working with a coach. Otherwise, if you don't trust the coach, then you can't. You shouldn't even have a coach at that point.
No,
you know?
I trusted Chris wholeheartedly, but Chris wasn't there in the gym with me. He wasn't
Right.
on the step mill with me. You know,
Right.
I ate what he told me to eat and you know, use the supplements, the amounts or whatever.
Right.
Fine, but it's ultimately up to you to train the proper way.
Absolutely, 100%.
And work hard. Don't get on the step mill and hang on the thing and just, you know, you got to do real exercise. You got to get your heart rate up. It's up to you. And a coach can't get into the balls of the competitor. You know, they got to do it themselves.
I would agree with you. Yeah, absolutely, Jose. Absolutely. But when it comes, you're talking elite. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Olympia level, IFBB pro level.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I agree with you, Dan. Because when it comes to the NPC and those types of people, they do need some type of, because they really do freak out. I've had clients before that I see, and I'm sure you have, and I'm sure Dave has. You give them a hamburger and French fries, and they look phenomenal. So you just they wake up Saturday morning, and I'm like, okay, do me a favor, have yourself a hamburger and fries, and go backstage. I'm gonna pick you some McDonald's up and some Wendy's, and they freak out. Oh my God, are you serious? He's eating rice cakes with jelly, and they go on stage and they win the overall. Sometimes you need to say that to these people. But at the elite level, yes. Chad used to come into my room and look at me and say, everything, you know, everything looks good. Just keep doing what you're doing. Okay, that's because I did everything to a T. I would not eat by the rice grain. I would make sure that I was doing what he was telling me to do. Most people don't do that. That's why they need that one person to look at them and tell them what's up.
Right. Well, like I always say, different people need different coaches. Some people need to have a babysitter there with them. Some people just want to write it out for me, tell me what to do, look at me, tell me what to change, and I'll follow it to a T. And those are the easiest people to help.
Yeah, Jose. Not everybody can show up at the squat contest and win this. Do 400 reps with 315, pick up a check, and go home. All right. Not everybody's like you.
It was
you know what I was going
right?
to tell you, Dave, when we were talking about Ronnie? That was 2 weeks out from a Europa Pro, and I did an hour on the step mill right before I did the squats.
We're talking about, I used to hold these bros versus pros competitions where I would have like regular guys in the gym go up against pros in these strength challenges. And Jose was my pro one year. And what was it? How many reps did you do with 405?
30.
30? Was it 405, right?
Yeah.
30 reps this guy did with 405. He was diving for shows 2 weeks out, and he did an hour on the step mill before he came there that morning. And he
That's nuts. You know, let me tell you something. My personal record on 405 is 23. So to have you do 30, you're an absolute freak of nature, bro.
And it was a good fucking set too. It was a really good set.
Yeah, those are nuts. Yeah, I don't know why you stopped doing that, man. That was a great thing you used to do, Dave.
I know. You know what it is? It got hard. I have kids now. I can't.
Stop that shit. And when you held it, and I knew my friend Karen was coming. I bet 100 people. I said Karen's going to win the squat contest. Oh no, there's going to be powerlifting chicks. I'm like, you guys don't know Karen. I said Karen's going to come. She's going to put on her earphones and she's going to win it. Trust me, I've seen Karen. And
we had some epic battles. Probably one of the really cool one was when I had Derek. What's his name? Derek, the strongman. I can't remember.
Poundstone.
Derek Poundstone actually would come and compete against the bodybuilders, and him and like there was one guy, this guy Mark Lurch. He was just some guy from Pennsylvania. He almost beat Poundstone, and then Poundstone gave him the opportunity. He said, I'll hold another one at my gym. And he had his own little strongman gym, and we went there and we did it, and he lost to the guy. These were epic battles.
My favorite still was the Jose one. I couldn't
believe he did
when he hit 20. I was crying because I could see in his face that he had more in him. I'm like, this guy's not human, man.
You know what? If you look at that lineup,
I said, Jose, I need to train legs together, man. That's what I want right there.
If you look at that lineup of guys that were in that competition, every one of those guys went on to be pros. Marco Rivera, Akeem Williams, Juan Morel. There was so many guys. Yeah, John De La Rosa, right? Yeah, there was a lot of guys that were not pros at the time. They just were, upcoming bodybuilders, and it was great. It was
Brad Rowe. It was a crazy lineup. There was 18 guys.
Yeah, it was insane. And Jose
Bring it back,
crushed everyone.
Dave. Bring it back. Come
I
on,
love
bring
it.
it
One
back.
of these days. I don't know if anyone is even into lifting anymore. I probably couldn't even find a pro to do it anymore.
Dave, trust me, they'll do it. They will do it. I see it in the gym every night. These fucking kids, they'll do it.
It's great. I love because there's some freaky guys in the gym that are just crazy strong that will never compete ever, and those are the guys that that I wanted to showcase. Regular gym bros, and they're amazing. I've seen some of the best gym lifts of all time. Remember that guy in Diamond Gym, Big Shep Ali Alston? I don't know if you remember him from.
I remember him. Yeah.
This guy was the craziest bencher of all time, and unfortunately, may he rest in peace. He died recently, but this guy was incredible. He never did a single show. He was. There was another guy in that Diamond Gym. He was a prison guard. He would come with his clothes on from work, and he would go and lift, and he would beat almost everyone there.
See, those are my favorite. See, those freaky strength guys are my favorite because I went to Dubai, and when I went to Dubai, they're all jacked to max, and these Egyptian guys with their quads like this walking around. So I was doing legs, and then one of them came up, and he was like, I could see he was giving me a dirty look. So I said, hey, you want to do the last set with me? He goes, sure. I took half the weight off, so we only had like 4 or 5 plates on each side of the leg press. I said, oh, no. I said, nah. And he's looking at me laughing. I said, you know what? Do it my way. Put your feet like this, touching. Yeah. I want you to do it 10 reps, but with a 5 count down, 2 count up. And do 10 more reps, 5 count down, and then 10 more reps, and then 20 reps fast. He got to the 10 this way. He racked it and cursed me out and walked the fuck out of the gym. That I love. That's what believe it. I get such a kick out of doing that to people. That's why, man. Damn it, Jose, where were you, man? When I wanted to train leagues with you. Fuck.
Now we're too old.
Yeah, now we're too old. We have to talk about the good old days. Although Kamali's still doing it. How much do you weigh now, Kamali?
I don't.
Are you 290?
I get this all the time, and people are like, "What are you getting? What is?" And I get these people the trolls who email me. You're killing yourself. What's the matter with you? Why are you still? I'm like, listen, I'm on test and master on.
He's got psychological problems too.
That is it. I'm not no GH, no insulin, no this, no that, no orals. And I eat 8 times a day. Can I help it? I'm 270 pounds. I can't help. What the hell do you want me to do? Inject Ebola inside me so I can start losing weight? You want me to do, man? Those are fucking trolls. I don't listen to.
You know what the funny thing was? If you went down to hormone replacement, that you probably still weigh the same thing, knowing you, because you like to eat. You're an eater.
The food. Look, listen. Jose's here. You're here. If you stack up 100 pros, the first thing they'll say is food. It's the food.
Yeah.
It's the food. When you're eating 8 times a day and you're eating, listen, Jay's the first person to tell you. He's like, he ate for 10 years for a purpose, not to enjoy the food.
Nick Walker
I wasn't enjoying my food.
Nick Walker said it best. He hasn't missed a meal in 5 years. And when he said that, it reminded me of myself when I was in that, that muscle growing stage. You cannot miss eating food. If you miss meals, you don't grow. That's the bottom line.
Exactly.
You miss 1 meal a week, you lost the whole week. You might as well just wipe the whole week clean.
Agreed.
That's the way it works, man. What do you think of Nick Walker? Will he win the Olympia, Jose, ever?
He could. I mean, he's been defying the odds every step of the way, defying the fans, and he's huge. He gets in shape. He's consistently improving. In order for him to win, there's going to have to be a few people not at their best. But yes, he could. He could definitely.
Kamali, why are the fans they were so on the Nick Walker train after last year's Olympia, and this year everyone's like making structure. Oh, his structure's not good. He's not that. The guy moved up to 3rd place. I don't know what people's problems are with him.
Because people are haters, Dave. You know that. You know that when somebody's climbing the hill, somebody's there. And Nick Walker, listen, I personally don't know him. We go back and forth through Instagram messages, and 6 weeks out, 3 weeks out, and a week out, I sent him messages and motivational things. And basically, it was just Nick conditioning. That's all I kept saying to him. And afterwards, the kid's so nice, and he's such a respectful kid. And he texts me back. He goes, it was so great to hear those. It really did help, and it was motivational. Thank you, King. He's a very respectful guy. I love Nick. I just think, again, I'm sorry to put Jose on the spot there since he was there in my eyes. To my eyes, I think he needs more shoulders those arms. He just needs to get that capped out and more sweeps to his quads. Am I right?
Yes, definitely the quads. In person, he is arguably the biggest guy, the most muscular guy out there. There's still some posing things that he could perfect.
That's what Cormier said. Cormier thinks he needs to work on his presentation.
Yeah, I think all of them can. I'd say Hadi's probably the best poser on stage as far as hitting everything perfectly. But Nick can make a few tweaks, and unfortunately, this year what they were looking at was different than other years. Meaning, the top two guys were structure guys. Hadi and Derek just have incredible structure, where Nick is lacking a little bit in the symmetry, top to bottom, where those guys really aren't. So. He beat 4 guys that beat him last year.
Beat Brandon and Ramy. Yeah, those are the 2 biggest names.
3 guys, whatever. He beat Hunter.
Right. I thought he beat Hunter last year, but that's.
So did I.
I did too. I did too. But he did it handily this year. And listen, he's still improving, and that's all you can ask for. So if he continues at the rate he's been, don't be surprised when he wins.
Yeah, true. What happened to William Bonac? I mean, this guy, before the show, I was thinking this guy could take out Hadi Chupin easily. I mean, what happened? I mean, what was the mistake that Chad made with this guy?
I will have to say again, I am going to say that they pushed a little too much, because if he was a tad bit fuller, he would have compared a lot better. He just looks like he wasn't popping like he normally does. Conditioning was there. Because I always look at Bonac when his back double bicep. That is one of the best back double biceps in the sport. I mean, it's just torn to pieces from top to bottom. But even that wasn't pop, 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 pop like it normally does. No. But Jose sitting right there, he was on the second row. Ask him.
I agree 100%. He was flat. Something went wrong, because I was front row in Boston as well. And he was bananas. And had he looked like that, he'd have been fighting for the win this year.
Did he do his own diet in Boston last year?
No, I think he worked with Chad for Boston. Okay. But he was so full and so round. And that's the look we've come accustomed to with him. And he wasn't. I was amazed that Derek looked bigger than him. Derek took up more space on stage than him. And that amazed me. He just looked flat. And usually he's got that crazy chest that comes out and he hits that. Yeah. And it wasn't happening. And like King said, from behind, he's usually got mounds of meat just hanging. And it just, he still had the striated glutes and but nothing was the normal volume that it usually is. And it could be, similar issue to Ramy, because they were both in shape. They were both in shape, but they weren't full and round.
This was from one of his guest poses, I believe.
Yeah, that would have fared better.
I think he looks better here. I think that they're trying to do too many things at the last minute with these guys. That last week, I'm a big believer in doing nothing the last week. Very little changes. Just carb up, light diuretic. If you're in shape and you got rid of all the fat and you did all the work, why start messing around with a million different protocols the last week? All you can do is screw it up. That's really what I believe. Yeah, 100%.
The sleeping, the resting the last 3 days is critical. It's critical to bring it out.
Right. You can't keep guys up all night eating every 2 hours around the clock. That is just not good for their body, because their bodies need sleep. Like King said, sleep is the most important thing.
Yeah. And Jose, what do you think about this? Because I've been, looking at Bonac. I like Bonac too. And I like his personality. I like everything about it. Do you think that he needs to focus on his midsection for a good 6 months to 7 months? I mean, just to literally like Hadi midsection. Because if Bonac had a Hadi midsection, it would make all the difference in the world. And whenever people say that's just the stomach, what does that have to do with it? My response to them is always, look at Phil Heath.
It's everything.
He destroyed in every shot imaginable. Sean Roden, rest in peace. But Sean was killing him in that taper. And every shot, it matters. Even on the back double bicep, the stomach matters. People just don't get it. So I think if he concentrates on that, and another thing with Bonac, he's got to work on his posing. I would pose every goddamn day to get fix his front. That front double bicep, when he twists and it just doesn't look right. Am I right?
No, I agree with you. And I agree that the midsection is an issue. Because when he hits a side tricep, his arms are crazy, the shoulder, the legs. But the midsection is what ties that pose together. Yeah. And he doesn't have abs when he's hitting that pose. It looks like he's struggling to hold it. And you know that you hit a side tricep, you get in position, and then blow everything out. And then wham, that brings the pose to life. And it doesn't happen with him.
He has abs, though, Jose. What he has is a very, very short torso.
Yes.
Very short.
Two abs.
But it makes everything bulge because there's no place for the muscle to go. It's short. Whereas guys that have a long torso, it spreads those abs out, and they usually have a better midsection, those guys. I mean, Jay, I don't think I've ever seen Jay with a gut or stomach sticking out. And he had more mass than anyone, but he had a very long torso and a very big structure to hold on.
Jay also walked around all year long, sucking his stomach in. And Jay was a bodybuilding machine.
Yeah.
Okay. Even I believe Jay, even when he slept, was probably doing vacuums. That's Jay Cutler.
Yeah, I think he can improve upon it. Let's just say that he can improve upon that. It's never going to look like hotties, but he can definitely make it better. And he's got to put attention to it. Maybe doing more ab work to have more control over that midsection.
Or maybe
I don't think he does any ab work, to be honest with you. It doesn't.
I think he does. I think ab work is going to be, if you start doing too much ab work, especially with weighted abs, it's going to make his stomach bulge more because the muscle is going to get too thick. I think what you were right, King. He needs to work on abdominal control, doing the vacuums and stuff like that to control the abs more so than to build them.
When I work with clients, Dave, and they're trying to do their abs, I tell them to stand in front of a mirror, put their hands right here, and just start flexing down. Flexing down. Then once you get that, then I'm like, okay, hanging leg raises. Just slowly come up until you see it. Then when you see it, try to hold it. Once it's gone, drop back again. Go back down to the ground, come slowly back up. That's the ab control, the mind muscle. Once you have that, then it's easy.
Yeah.
Okay, then it's easy. And not to mention the over-carbing. I mean, what did you say the other day? Oh, I was watching your thing, Dave. All the guys from the 90s versus the guys of today's. What everybody's right. Well, you know what? We had better abs. Okay. I don't care how you want to look at it. That's because I used to go to Fairfax Hackley. I told you this. And that old son of a mother, you know what, used to make me hold my poses for 60 seconds, man. Yeah. And I would punch the wall. And he's like, this is the Olympia, boy. He used to call me boy. This is the Olympia, boy. You're going to have to do this. If you're going to stand up there, you're going to have to do this, boy. I'm like, oh, my God. But it helped, man.
No, it definitely helped. Jose was a great poser on stage. One of the best, I think. So, and you practiced, right?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I had to practice vacuums, and I did a ton of abs. Like, I would do abs every other day until they were sore. Right. And that helped me with the control. You had a great vacuum too, Jose. A great vacuum. Yeah. So I put the time in, and I didn't have a great midsection. I had wide hips. I had I was blocky. I was short, but there was something there. And when I hit a side tricep, Chris would always say to me, "Dude, the midsection is everything. That is the pose. It's not whose tricep is bigger. It's whose shoulders look right and how tight the waist is, the leg. There's so much more to it. And guys are just, showing their tricep. And I also think that he probably needs to stop with that split leg side tricep.
I agree. Too.
Bonac. Try it just normal, traditional, and he might be able to hit it. I don't know. But yeah.
Last person I want to talk about Brandon Curry, obviously. A lot of people thought he could win the Olympia again, get that title back that he lost to Ramy. And it seemed like, to me at least, once again, I know we keep repeating the same thing. It seemed like he was overcarbed and over-depleted. Is that an accurate assessment, King?
I want to hear what Jose has to say. Jose,
so Brandon was enormous But the issue was there was really like that. Even there, he looks better than he did on stage.
This is before the Olympia, the Wednesday before.
Yeah, see, he has more detail there.
Yeah,
on his legs than he did on stage, and he was huge. I think if he came in like he did last year, even he probably would have won.
really? Okay.
He probably would have because he's so big.
So you think he kind of blew it? He blew it in a sense because Ramy was off. This was his opportunity to win this thing.
Yes. I mean, he was so big that it really overshadowed the condition. Like there was no lower body detail. It was just too much. I don't know what happened because even in this video, he looks a lot sharper than he did on stage.
He's very full here too. He doesn't look flat at all to me here. But
no.
See what Abdullah would say, and I've seen other podcasts, and I'm going to play devil's advocate. He's going to say, if I bring him in sharper, like what we're saying, he's going to lose his legs. So he's like, I have to bring him in full to keep the proportions from the lower body and upper body the same. But again, what Jose just said, and I'm going to quote Milos, he didn't have a cut in his legs. That's what it's. I mean, I was rooting for him too because in that side chest and side tricep, he was making Hadi look small.
Yeah.
You know, you're right. Jose's right. He's huge.
Even his front double, which is his bread and butter, wasn't standing with Hadi and Derek. And now he's bigger than them both, but it's because there was not that normal detail, that dryness through the midsection, through the, lats, arms, everything. He just was off. I don't know if it was overcarbing or look at that.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
He looked big.
Enormous.
Yeah.
He just needed to be, 8 pounds sharper.
You know who he's starting to look like? Victor Richards.
Victor Richards. I was gonna say.
That's what he's starting to look like that. And Victor, as you know, from our time, Dave, he was our freak of nature.
He had big legs, though. His legs were way bigger than Brandon's.
Victor was from another planet.
Will Brandon Curry do the Arnold Classic, you think?
I don't know.
He's qualified, right, for the Olympia?
But he won Mr. Olympia. He's always qualified. So.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
My bad. But I think he should do the Arnold. Why not collect another paycheck and then take the rest of the year off?
There's a curveball with that.
What?
Samson.
I think it's a mistake, first of all, that Samson do the Arnold because I don't think he can make enough. I know he's doing it. I don't think he can make enough improvements by then. But then again, who does he have to beat? If Brandon does the show, now he's got a problem. If Brandon doesn't do the show,
I spoke to Milos, and Milos is adamant. He's like, don't even think about it, King. He's 100% doing the Arnold Classic. I was like, all right.
Oh, he already committed. Yeah, I heard it too. But I don't necessarily think it's a good idea. I think he needs all the time he can get to work on bringing up.
But you have to understand Milos' mentality. Okay, Humalog. Vitargo, Humalog. Okay, that's Milos. We love Milos. We all love Milos, and he firmly believes in that, man.
Look, you can't argue with it. He definitely put the size on.
I mean, Jose. Listen, Jose said it. He looks like he's 25 fucking pounds bigger. That's amazing.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is.
I don't know if doing the Arnold is going to help Samson.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because he needs that time to refine that size and just slowly come in a little better than he did this year.
I would clean him out now. Give him a 6-8 week break, and then grow him for the rest of the year, and then hit a show the last qualifier if he's got to do the last. Actually, is he qualified? No, he wouldn't be qualified. Only top 5 qualified. Yeah. So hit the last qualifier and then do the Olympia. I mean, I think that's the way to go. Maybe they're thinking, hey, he can qualify at the Arnold and then he can take the rest of the year off. I don't know. I don't know what the thinking is.
Let me ask one last question before we leave. Because Dave, I know you're shutting it down. Jose, and this goes to you too, Dave. Can Hadi be a repetitive champion? Or are we going to see different Mr. Olympias like every other year?
Absolutely. I think he should have won already before this year. and I don't even think this was his best. So, yeah, I think he can win next year for sure, because he can be 5-10% sharper and just blow everyone away. I think he's already should have won at least one by now. And so in my mind, he should be a 2-time champ. And yes, he's the most complete, detailed bodybuilder in the world. And I think he has been for a few years.
So now that you said that, Dave, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Now that you said that, this, Jose, for you, Sean Roden when he won the Olympia or Hadi this year?
Sean.
Phil Heath 2013 or Hadi?
Phil.
Jay Cutler 2009 or Hadi this year?
Jay.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, they're bigger, but those guys aren't competing anymore.
I understand that. I understand that, but I'm saying the kid is vulnerable. Okay, the vulnerability is there.
For sure.
Okay, yeah, because trust me that I'm praying, as much as I fuck with George, I'm praying Andrew starts to puts on 405 or 500 pounds on the stiff-legged deadlifts, okay, and does stiff-legged deadlifts until his hamstrings and glutes start to look like they, from planet Mars. Because that, anybody who ever asked me, King, how'd you get those hams and glutes? Stiff-legged fucking deadlifts and deep ass wide stand squats. I think if Andrew, because I've seen how Andrew trains too. Andrew trains to get in there, like this. He doesn't have that Ronnie Coleman, I'm going to break the bars type mentality. Yeah. He doesn't have the Jose Raymond, I'm going to make sure that somebody sits on the machine, plus I'm going to stack it all out. If he had that type of mentality, maybe. I want to see Andrew looking like that.
He needs the Ronnie Coleman mindset with that body, with the genetics.
He does. But, again, at 38 years old, he's got to be a little bit careful too.
Yeah, well, Ronnie started late too, and so he went well into his 40s. So it's possible. He definitely has at least another good 4 or 5 years left, I would say, where he can be his best. So I think that Brandon Curry is very dangerous if he comes back next
100%.
year.
No question.
100%.
He's beaten Hadi at his best many times, so he can beat him again if Brandon's at his best. And the only difference now is Hadi got the title, but I don't think that title is stiffly in his hands yet. I think that Hadi's strength is that he comes in consistently in shape every single time. And these other guys just can't seem to figure it out. The only guy who comes in shape every single time is Nick Walker.
Yeah.
And if Nick couldn't beat Hadi this year, I mean, unless he comes back, like mind-bogglingly bigger, I can't see him beating him again.
Nick is going to continue to improve. We'll hope, pray to God, knock on wood, he doesn't get injured. Okay. Right. We got to, Nick is going to, but again, with Nick, get those shoulders capped out as much as you humanly possibly can, and try to add as much quad sweep, and don't do this Leroni most muscular next to Hadi. That's Hadi's that's the last shot they see, and that's the shot that they're going to be like, do the crab shot, Nick. Forget that shot. Yeah, Nick, forget that shot. Hit your crab shot and do what Dennis Wolf used to do. Do that.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Jose, final words. What is your takeaway impression from this year's Olympia?
I loved it. Contrary to Robbie Robinson, who made some crazy statements, the poor guy, I love his physique, but I don't know where his brain's going right now.
What did he say?
He just shit on modern day bodybuilding.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Worst ever. He said it was one of the worst ever, and I disagree. It was one of the most competitive ever.
Yeah.
As far as Ronnie Coleman's not here. Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, they're not here. We got who's here, and these guys are awesome. And sure, can they be better? They're going to be better. But it was very competitive, very tight in a lot of spots. I still think a lot of things could have flip-flopped. I think Andrew should have beat Hunter. I think, there's a few situations that could have happened here.
Yeah.
And I think bodybuilding's in good hands. I think there's a lot of great athletes. But yeah, I took away from it. One thing that Chris touched on was we were waiting. It was 3 a.m. by the time prejudging started here in Vegas. Like the time has to be adjusted. because there's too many athletes. It took way too long. And, they're going to lose a lot of pay-per-view because I wouldn't pay for it if I had to stay up till 3 a.m.
We didn't know. Kamali and I did the wrap up at 3 a.m.
I was cursing Dave to hell. That's all.
We went for a good hour. I didn't go to sleep till 5:30 that morning because I couldn't turn my brain off after that. I was like fucking amped up. But they got
ridiculous. But there things can be tweaked, and I think it was overall a great show.
Yeah.
They made the judging was exceptional, the way they did it, and I heard you guys thought Ramy was winning off to the side.
Not me.
You thought that, yeah.
He owes me a steak dinner.
I do owe him a steak, but Jose, I want to clarify that really quick. When he first walked out, first of all, the webcast was horrible. Okay, me and Dave were texting fucking Dan Solomon and yelling at him for the background lights and noise and this and that. So that's not Dan's fault, but I'm saying that to me it was like I'm thinking to myself, he's either 5th or 6th or 1st. That's the only way I saw it, and I'm thinking to myself, it can't possibly be that. 2nd, 3rd, maybe, but not 5th or 6th. So I'm going back and forth like now. Then I saw the pictures after prejudging was done when they do all the photoshopping and stuff, and I'm like, okay, now it's a little bit more clear. The dents are there, this and that. I can see what's going on. But to me, it was just unbelievable, and I got to give props, give clap hands to Mr. Steve Weinberger and Dave Palumbo, who I always steak dinner to. They called out who they saw was the best.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But you know what? Look, we've seen years where Ramy would have won. Let's face it. We've seen Mr. Olympias win when they shouldn't have in the past. So had Ramy won,
J-Card Victor.
Yeah,
remember that?
If Ramy would have won,
I don't think anybody who had Jay winning that show.
If Ramy would have won, half of us would have said it's bullshit, and the other half would have said he deserved it. And so, no one it wouldn't have been that many complaints. I got news to you because he's the biggest guy on stage. He still did have glutes. He wasn't horrendous. He just wasn't Ramy that we've seen in the past, and so they've done worse than that. Believe me, and this was judged properly, and I'm glad it was. Hadi deserved to win. He got the win. That makes more excitement for next year. If Ramy comes back better, guys, he can get that title back. Absolutely. I can see him winning it back.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard.
All right, guys, I want to thank you for joining us for Iron Debate today. I know it was a long show, but I think the fans will really appreciate the analysis. Jose, I love that you shoot from the hip. King, it was your idea. Thanks for joining us. And Chris Aceto was supposed to join us, but he is on vacation in Miami with his kids, so I didn't want to. He came down here. It was 35 degrees in Miami. He couldn't even go anywhere. This was the first day the temperature broke a little bit, so I cut him a break. So
poor Chris.
I know. Good. Thanks for joining us, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, do it because we're almost at 300,000 subscribers. I want to get there by the end of January. I'm super happy that you guys are supporting the channel so much, and thank you guys for joining us once again. We'll see you again next week for another installment of Iron Debate.